The title of this presentation is Fatal Choices, Wild Ass, and this is part 3. Fatal Choices and the Wild Ass, this is part 3. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read something before I get started. This is the effects of constantly following others. The effects of constantly following others, page 303 out of Testimony to Ministers and Gospel Workers. It reads, there are men who today might be men of breadth of thought, might be wise men, men to be depended upon, who are not such, because they have been educated to follow another man's plan. They have allowed others to tell them precisely what to do, and they have become dwarfed in intellect. Their minds are narrow, and they cannot comprehend the need of the work. They are simply machines to be moved by another man's thought. Now, do not think that these men who do follow out your ideas are the only ones that can be trusted. Let me read that again. Now, do not think that these men who do not follow out your ideas are the only ones that cannot be trusted. You have sometimes thought that because they do your will to the letter, they were the only ones in whom you could place dependence. If anyone exercises his own judgment and differs with you, you have disconnected from him as one that could not be trusted. Take your hands off the work and do not hold it fast in your grasp. You are not the only man whom God will use. Period. Give the Lord room to use the talents He has entrusted to men in order that the cause may grow. Give the Lord a chance to use men's minds. We are losing much by our narrow ideas and plans. Do not stand in the way of the advancement of the work, but let the Lord work by whom He will. Educate, encourage young men to think and act, to devise and plan in order that we may have a multitude of counselors. Amen. Our scripture is going to be found in Matthew chapter 24. Matthew 24. So just because you are in charge of the work, you don't try to hinder God's work. God is going to go outside the usual means of working, and because it's a stronghold being held on the work. So God want to use everybody's mind. God want to develop and use everybody's mind and talent for His glory, not for the glory of an individual.
Right.
Matthew chapter 24. Verse 19 says, woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. And then shall be great tribulations, such as was not since there was a nation. Okay, we hear that? Not since the beginning of the world to this time. No, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. The days are going to be shortened for the elect's sake. And the elect don't mean people who just call themselves elect. Oh, we Seventh-day Adventists, we the elect. No, it don't mean that. It says the days are going to be shortened for the elect's sake. It says, then, if any man shall say to you, lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. So, the days were short in 1798. We went over this last week. I'm not going to go too much over it again. We had the falling of the, we had the sun turning turning dark, the dark day. We had the moon turned to blood, and we had the falling of the stars. We have 1798 is when Rome got cut off, when the Pope was taken captive by General Berthier which was the beast that ascends out the bottomless pit. So that was the last power. It was atheistic power that cut Rome off. It was not Islam. Okay? It was not Islam. It was the beast that ascends out the bottomless pit. Revelation 11, 7 and 8. French, atheistic France. And sodomistic France. Okay? It had two powers, just like the lamb with the two horns. But their power was atheistic and sodomy. I hope we can see the parallels to the times we're living in now. Verse 22 says, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. So now false Christ and false manifestations, demonic manifestations is going to be. He warns us about that. And there shall rise false Christs and false prophets and show great signs and wonders, inasmuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. That last woe is Satan, demonic power working upon the minds of individuals to deceive the very elect. To deceive the very elect. It says, behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, Islam, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, secret societies, secret organizations. Believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. It says, immediately after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Religious powers are going to be shaken. It says, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Christ is coming from heaven, and he's coming from the east. And he shall send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet from the east. And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, and from one end of heaven to the other. From the four winds. Okay? So we need to understand and keep this in mind when we go through this presentation. We went over a lot of this stuff last week, but we're going to go and we're going to fortify it right today. Go to your screen, Jeremiah 6:16. Okay, so we got the elect mentioned in verse 22. We got the elect where it says, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. Verse 24 says, and if possible they shall deceive the very elect. We know those days were shortened when the papacy received its deadly wound in 1798. And so in between this time period, we have false prophets and going to show great signs and miracles and wonders. If possible, it shall deceive the very elect. We know that a lot of deception is going to be coming from the desert, verse 26, and a lot of deception coming from secret chambers or secret councils. Christ tells us, believe it not. It says, because he's coming from the east wind. And he's going to shine all unto the west. It says, even so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. So Christ is coming from the east and he's shining to the west. When we understand the sanctuary, at the west end of the sanctuary, we have the most holy place where God's law is enshrined in the Ark of the Covenant. Now it says immediately after the tribulation of those days, okay? Immediately after the tribulation of those days, we got the dark day of May 19th, 1780, and we got the day that the moon turned to blood is also May 19th, 1780. And then in between that, the papacy receives its deadly wound, 1798. Do we see that? Okay? And then it says, then you go, this says, verse 30 says, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and it's coming from the east. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And they saw Christ coming in 1844. 1844. Ottoman Empire fell in 1840. Keep that in mind. Okay? In between these signs. It says, and he shall send his angels, verse 31, with a great sound of the trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds. That means the four corners of the earth. From one end of heaven to the other. Now learn the parable of the fig tree. When his branches is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things. Now remember, you got to see all these signs to understand what Jesus Christ is talking about. When you see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Even at the door. When you see all these signs, he wants us to understand these signs. He wants us to see these signs. These are prophecies. All these signs are prophecies and visions. But if we don't understand them, we're not going to know that summer's nigh. Okay? Summer. Let's turn to Acts real quick. Acts chapter 8. Summer. This is going to deal us with summer. And the fig tree. Let's look at the fig tree. We look at all these signs. Let's turn to Amos chapter 8. Dealing with the summer. It says, thus hath the Lord God showed unto me, and behold, a basket of summer fruit. And he said, Amos, what seest thou? And I said, a basket of summer fruit. Then said the Lord unto me, summer fruit, summer's nigh. The end is come upon my people Israel. So that means God's people are cut off. That's the announcement of the second angel's message. Babylon is fallen, is fallen. It says, and I will not pass by them again. That means probation was closed, or door closed, in 1844. There was a door closed in 1844. He says the fig tree. Turn to Habakkuk chapter 3. Let's turn to Habakkuk chapter 3. Know that summer's nigh. That means Jesus Christ is getting ready to come back, and everybody's supposed to see these signs of Christ getting ready to come and understand the work that he's doing and the finishing work of our Savior, our high priest in heaven. Habakkuk chapter 3 reads as follows. I'm starting at verse 13. It says, thou wentest forth for the salvation of thy people. That's God getting ready to come. Even for salvation with thine anointed. That means them angels in heaven, the kings of the east. And thou woundest the head out of the houses of the wicked. That's when Christ is going to give those in the house of the wicked a deadly wound, a head wound, a permanent wound, by discovering the foundations unto the neck. The neck is the tower, the sanctuary, where all this wickedness is coming out of. Selah. It means you need to meditate and really think about what you just read. It says, thou didst strike through with his staves, that's his rod, the heads of the villages, the cities, nations, kindreds, tribes, and people. They came out as a whirlwind to scatter me. They came out against God's people, God's prophets. They came, the nations, they came against God's people as a whirlwind to scatter me. Therefore, rejoice. Rejoicing was as devour. It says their rejoicing was to devour the poor secretly. Devour the poor how? Secretly. It says, when they shall say he is in secret chambers, believe it not. So they're secretly. Is this a conspiracy? Is Habakkuk telling us about a conspiracy? Yeah. Is that a conspiracy theorist for all those conspiracy theorists out there? Just the Bible talks about a conspiracy. Yes. It says, devour the poor secretly. Thou didst walk through the sea with thine horses, through the heap of great waters. When I heard, my belly trembled. My lips quivered at the voice. Rottenness entered into my bones, and I trembled in myself, that I might rest in the day of trouble. Do you know it's a time of trouble coming? And God wants to rest in the time of trouble. And in this time of trouble, it's people secretly plotting against God's people to destroy them. It says, when he cometh up unto the people, he will invade them with troops. God has an army. God's going to invade them with troops. And these troops is coming from the east. And they coming on some horses. And it's a rider on a white horse. His name is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And he leadeth the armies of heaven, the troops of heaven. It says, although the fig tree, when you hear the parable of the fig tree, know that these things is not. Although the fig tree shall not blossom. When you see the fig tree not bearing fruit, the fig tree is God's people, shall not blossom, neither shall fruit be in the vine. The labor of the olive shall fail. That means the Holy Spirit is going to fail. And the field shall yield no meat. The flock shall be cut off from the fold, and there shall be no herd in the stall. God's people, is not going to be no herd in the stall. No sheep. It says, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation. The Lord God is my strength, and he will make my feet like hinds' feet. And he will make me to walk upon mine high places, even to the, it says, to the chief singer on my stringed instrument. So Habakkuk tells us that this is going to be a time period where the sheep going to be cut off from the fold, and there's not going to be no herd in the stall. The fig tree is not going to blossom, and it's not going to bear no fruit. So Matthew, he says, when it says, now learn the parable of the fig tree, when his branches is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, is not bearing no fruit. Ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see these things, know that it is near, even at the door. It's at the door. Jesus Christ is coming. It says, back to the slide now. It says, thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the way and see, and ask for the old paths. Where is the good way? And walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your soul. But they said, we will not walk therein. Jeremiah 6:16. Jeremiah, we went over this. Jehovah will heap together in the gathering of Jehovah. Jehovah going to gather from the four winds. The congregation of Jehovah, he going to gather his congregation at the rising of Jehovah. And it says Jehovah will stand. That's what Jeremiah means. Now what I want to do, I'm going to go to our book, Early Writings, and talk about when these fig trees, when this flock was cut off from the fold, which is the second angel's message. Okay? And the second angel's message, if we don't understand what that is before I read, I'm going to read it to you. So we have the first and the second angel's message. I'm going to read the second angel's message to you. Revelation chapter 14 reads as follows. Revelation 14 reads as follows. And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, is fallen. The flock is cut off. That great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And then the third angel followed after that. Okay? So within the second angel's message, we have Islam in there. They helped to bring the fall of Rome in 1798. In 1844, that's when the Protestant churches of America fell. They saw the sign of the coming of the Son of Man in the sky, but they did not understand the event. They didn't understand the sanctuary. And that's why the Bible says, where is the good way? In Psalm 77:13 says, thy way, O Lord, is in the sanctuary. Who is such a great God as our God? So they didn't know that way until after 1844. Now I'm going to read out of the book Early Writings, talk about that's the end of the 2200 days. On page 54. This is what happened in 1844. I saw a throne, and on it sat the Father and the Son. I gazed on Jesus' countenance and admired his lovely person. The Father's person I could not behold, for a cloud of glorious light covered him. I asked Jesus if his Father had a form like himself, and he said he had. But I could not behold it, for he said, if you should once behold the glory of his person, you would cease to exist. Before the throne, I saw the Advent people, the church, and the world, 3 groups of people. I saw 2 companies. One bowed down before the throne, deeply interested, while the other stood uninterested and careless. It says, those who were bowed before the throne would offer up their prayers and look to Jesus. Then he would look to his Father and appear to be pleading with him. A light would come from the Father to the Son, and from the Son to the praying company. So light came from the Father to the Son, and from the Son to the praying company. Then I saw an exceedingly bright light come from the Father to the Son, whom and from the Son it waved over the people before the throne. But few would receive this great light. Few would receive this great light. Many came out from under it and immediately resisted it. Others were careless and did not cherish the light, and it moved off from them. Some cherished it and went and bowed down with the little praying company. This company all received light and rejoiced in it, and their countenance shone with glory. I saw the Father rise from the throne, and in a flaming chariot go into the holiest of holies, that was to the west, within the veil, and sit down. When Jesus rose up from the throne, and the most of those who were bowed down arose with him, I did not see one ray of light pass from Jesus to the careless multitude after he arose, and they were left in perfect darkness. Left in perfect darkness. That means that their light was snuffed out. Those who arose when Jesus did kept their eyes fixed on him. As he left the throne, he led them out a little way. Then he raised his right arm, and we heard his lovely voice saying, wait here. I am going to my Father to receive the kingdom. Keep your garments spotless, and in a little while I will return from the wedding and receive you to myself. This is the elect, okay? This is the elect. Then a cloudy chariot with wheels like a flaming fire, surrounded by angels, came to where Jesus was. He stepped into the chariot and was borne to the holiest, where the Father sat, in the west. And there I beheld Jesus, a great high priest, standing before the Father. On the hem of his garment was a bell and a pomegranate, Those who rose up with Jesus would send up their faith to him in the holiest and pray, Father, give us thy Spirit. Then Jesus would breathe on them the Holy Ghost. In that breath was light, power, and much love, joy, and peace. It says, I turned to look at the company who were still bowed down before the throne. They did not know. They didn't know nothing about summer was nigh. They didn't know the time that they were living in. They didn't understand the angels' voices. They did not know that Jesus had left it. Satan appeared to be by the throne, trying to carry on the work of God. Now he's in a secret place. If they say he's in the secret chambers, believe it not. Trying to carry out the work of God. I saw them look up to the throne and pray, Father, give us thy Spirit. And Satan would then breathe upon them an unholy influence. In it was light and much power, but no sweet love, joy, and peace. Satan's object was to keep them deceived and to draw back and deceive God's children. Matthew 24:24 says, if possible, they shall deceive the very elect. So that preaching that's coming out of them secret societies, these secret chambers, and from the desert, the east, they are not from God. They're satanic powers, satanic delusions,
Forces.
demonic forces. And if you still don't want to believe that, so that's what's going on. That's what's going on. So now I'm gonna get to the screen. I'm gonna get to the slide. We see these charts, the 1840. This was going on at this time period. On these charts, we have angels. We have Islam on the 1842 chart, and we got Islam on the 1850 chart. We have 3 angels on the 1850 chart. We got one angel. That last woe is that last angel, and we've seen that last angel is going up to the kingdom of Greece. Robert, I need you to grab your Bible for me, and I need you to look at something for me in a minute. Fatal Choices and Wild Ass Part 3, the Fugitive Slave Law. Testimonies to ministers, it reads this: many will stand in our pulpits with the torch of false prophecy in their hands, kindled from the hellish torch of Satan. Is that spiritualism? If doubt and unbelief are cherished, the faithful ministers will be removed from the people who think they know so much. If thou hast known, said Christ, even thou, at least in this day, the things which belong to thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. So if we don't believe what the Word of God says, and he's clearly warning us of false prophecy being taught from our pulpits. Let me read the paragraph before. Fatal choices and wild asses. Unsanctified ministers are arraying themselves against God. They are praising Christ and the God of this world in the same breath. Satan is breathing upon him, right? A ruach, spirit. While professedly they receive Christ, they embrace Barabbas. And by their actions say, not this man, but Barabbas. Let all who read these lines take heed. Satan has made his boast of what he can do. He thinks to dissolve the unity which Christ prayed might exist in his church. He says, I will go forth and be a lying spirit to deceive those that I can. Ain't that what Jesus told us right here? It says they're going to show great signs and wonders. If possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Now, Satan boasts that he can do this. He says, deceives those that I can. To criticize and condemn and falsify, lie on them. It says, let the sons of deceit and false witnesses be entertained by a church that has had great light, great evidence. See all this evidence we got? And that church will discard the message the Lord has sent and receive the most unreasonable assertions and false suppositions and false theories. Satan laughs at their folly, for he knows what truth is. Testimonies 409, page 2. Selective Messages, book 3, 392 says, these have one mind, one universal confederate. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beasts, sons of deceit. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called, chosen, and faithful. The troops. These have one mind, and there will be a universal bond. A bond, what's going to bond them together is spiritualism. A universal bond of union, one great harmony, a confederacy of Satan forces, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. Thus is manifested the same arbitrary, wild, oppressive power against religious liberty, freedom to worship God according to the dictates of conscience, as was manifested by the papacy. When in past it persecuted those who dare to refuse to conform with religious rites and ceremonies of the Romanists. Do we see that? That's the wild ass right there. Kicking these messages from the church, from the pulpit. It says, Luke 21:24, it says, and they shall fall by the sword, by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times, more than one, of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Robert, can you read Joel 1, Joel 3? I need you to read Joel 3, 1 through 6. The times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Okay? The times of the Gentiles is the one who's going to be using this demonic power. The Gentiles are the ones who's going to be using these demonic power, mesmerism, hypnotism, and not only them, but Genesis chapter 10, it tells us about the Gentiles. Genesis 10, 2 through 3. I went over this last week, so I'm not going to go through it all. The sons of Japheth. Japheth means the north. It means enlargement. It means without limitation. It's not going to have no limits. The sons of Japheth is Gomer. Gomer means organic accumulation or organized aggression, order out of chaos. So the sons of Japheth, and it also means ended or finished. Okay? I'm a jump. So he had Magog, he had Madai, which is Media, and he had Javan. Javan means Greece. Greece means the east. Greece means the east. A east wind. Okay? Javan. Now, Robert, what I want you to read about Javan, Greece, the times of the Gentiles out of Joel 3, verse 1 through 6. Can you read that loud so it can count on tape?
For behold, in those days and in that time, I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. I also will gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat.
So Jehoshaphat, that's where God's going to judge them. Keep going.
And will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land.
They scattered God's people and they parted his land, just like Hosea told us. Keep going.
And they have cast lots for my people.
It says they have cast lots for his people. That means they gambled with God's people. Keep going.
And given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink.
So they selling people so that they can drink and be merry. Keep going.
Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Sidon?
Tyre is the sea people. Tyre is a name for the sea people. And Zidon is a son of the Canaanites, okay? Son of the Canaanites. So these people, God's saying, what do you have to do with me? You're selling my people. That's black folks, Canaanites, and the Gentiles. Okay, keep going, brother.
And all the coasts of Palestine will ye render me a recompense. And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head.
God says, I'm going to return it on your own head.
Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things.
God says all the good things, they carried that into their temple and use it for their worship. So what they're doing, they're instituting a false religion in the place of a true religion. Keep going.
The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians.
So it says that the children of Judah and the children of who? Jerusalem, they sold. They sold unto who?
The Grecians.
Grecian, Javan, the time of the Gentiles being fulfilled. Read a little bit more.
That ye might remove them from far from their borders.
So that you can remove them. That means deceive them far from their borders. You see that? Remove them far from their borders. So we're not going to go through all this, but this is the Gentiles, okay? Javan means east. The Grecians. Japheth means north. It means no, without no limitations. It has no end, no ending point. It's not going to stop. It's going to continue until Christ bring it to an end. Okay? So these are the deceptive powers Satan is using in these last days. And we see the first woe, the second woe, and now we see the third woe. In the third woe, you see a trumpet blowing, the seventh trumpet, this last trumpet, and it has a rope going up. Guess whose neck gets around? Greece. Javan. Greece. The king of the east. We went over that last week, so we're not going to go too much into it. Shittim. Shittim means cut off or division. A schismatic. Shittim is also Rome, the king of the north. It says, it means cut off. It's a gigantic reprobate or heretic, one who caused divisions amongst God's people. Okay? Romans 16:17 says, now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause division, the heretic, and offenses contrary, that means anti, to the doctrine which you have learned, and avoid them. My people is destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou should be no priests to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of God, I will also forget thy children. Now what we see on that left side of the chart is something called racial covenants. Racial covenants. I'm not going to go too much into this, but racial covenants was established after 1844 by those people who was holding the blacks in slavery. These were related to Jim Crow acts. They had racial covenants. Blacks could not buy or sell in their towns, in their provinces. So if you get time, look up racial covenants, and you're gonna find out what that means. But while we're there, let's turn to Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 28. Isaiah chapter 28. So they're making racial covenants. The racial covenants were that you will not sell any land to no blacks. Even if they marry to a white woman, you still ain't gonna do it. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna drive them out from among us. The Bible says, woe, this is the third woe. Verse 28, it says, woe unto the crown of pride, to the drunkards of Ephraim, whose glorious beauty is a fading flower, which are on the heads of the fat valley of them, that are overcome with wine. Is that what they were selling, what Javon was selling them for? Mm-hmm. Selling the girl for some wine? Mm-hmm. Drunken with wine. Now, I'm a jump. This is the line upon line, precept upon precept. I'm a jump to this talking about God's people, okay, or so-called professed people that have been cut off. The Bible says, verse 10 says, for precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line upon line, here little, there little. And it says this, verse 11 says, with a stammering lip and another tongue will I speak to this people, to whom he said, this is the rest, wherewith ye may cause the weary to rest, and this is the refreshing, yet they would not hear. They still don't want to hear. And so God says, because thou have rejected the word of the Lord, God's going to reject you and your children. It says, but the word of the Lord was unto them precept upon precept upon precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, that they might go and fall backwards and be broken and snared and taken. So the word of God is given for us to be taken captive by Jesus Christ himself. So either we're going to be taken captive by Jesus Christ, or we're going to be taken captive by the enemy. Now, these are some racial covenants. It says, wherefore, hear the word of the Lord, ye scornful men, that rule this people, which is in Jerusalem, because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we in agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. For we have made refuge, we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehoods have we hid ourselves. People don't want to talk about this truth we finna talk about. They're going to hide under some lies. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I lay in Zion a foundation stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. He that believeth on him shall not make haste. Judgment also will I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet. And the hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies, and the water shall overflow the hiding places. And your covenant with death shall be disannulled, and your agreement with hell shall not stand. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, that's a plague, a woe, shall pass through, then you shall be trodden down by it. They're going to be trodden down by the plagues. Okay? Because they made a covenant with hell. They made a covenant with hell. We're going to look at this in a minute. Revelation chapter 6 tells us who riding on that horse. Okay? It says hell follow him. Death follows him. And that's Javan. That's Japheth. Okay? That's riding on that horse. The king of the north and the king of the east. Rome and Greece. The east wind. You see that horse right there? See that horse?
Mm-hmm.
Turn to Revelation. They have made a covenant with death and with hell. Javan, king of the east, that east wind, and Japheth, the north, without no end until Christ makes an end to it. Revelation chapter 6 talks about this horse. Revelation chapter 6 talks about this horse. If you did not watch the presentation from last week, watch that one and then you'll get a little bit more information. Revelation chapter 6 is talking about the seals. God is opening up the seals, and he says in verse 5, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I heard, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat upon him had a pair of balances in his hand. A black horse. He had some measure. He had a scale in his hand. And scale is for judgment, it's for weights, it's for balances, it's for measuring wheat. It says, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and a balance of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. So this is robbery. They're robbing you. False balances and unjust weights. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard a voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. Behold, a what?
Pale.
Pale horse. This is Rome. Papal Rome. A pale horse. And his name that sat on him was Death. They have made agreement with death. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So this stuff is being done in secret. In the secret chambers. But God says it's all going to be exposed. It says the hell, the judgment going to sweep away the refuge of lies. It says hell followed him. Death and hell followed him. Hell is perdition. Followed him. That's the son of perdition Paul was telling us about. And the powers was given unto him over the fourth part of the earth, the four winds of the earth, to kill with the sword, with hunger, with death, and with the beast of the earth. Beast, we know as kingdoms. And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God, for their testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, how long, O Lord? Holy and true dost thou not judge, and avenge our blood on them that dwell upon the earth. And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest for a little season until their fellow servants and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. So it says they're going to have to rest for a little while until this power receives its power to rule again, when this other power is going to restore that power unto the beast. Okay? And then that's what Matthew chapter 24 says. It says, for then, 24 verse 1 says, for then shall be great tribulation such as never was since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be, except those days should be shortened. There should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. So God had to cut this reign of this fourth power right here. This fourth power in this fifth seal, he had to cut it short for a little season until another time of trouble comes. So these verses going to be repeated. God's people are going to make a covenant with death, and they already did. And it's going to continue until Christ comes again from heaven. And then we got the signs that Jesus Christ talks about in Matthew 24. You see? You see that? Mm-hmm. So we know Jesus Christ is coming from the east. And so east wind. The east wind. Let's turn our Bibles to Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 27. Isaiah 27. This is a little Bible study. So we should never get tired of studying God's word, because God has so much to share us. There's so much jewels, pearls, diamonds in here, gold, silver, and we need to recover some of this stuff, you see? Isaiah chapter 27, it says, hath he smitten him, verse 7, hath he smitten him, this is Jesus Christ speaking, as he smote those that smote him? Or is he slain according to the slaughter of them that are slain by him? So have God repaid them? Did God give them the 25-20, the just punishment for their sin? The answer is no, not yet, but it's coming. It says, in measure, when it shooteth forth, thou wilt debate with it. So when shooteth forth, thou wilt debate with. That word debate means you're going to toss it. You're going to toss it. It's going to be tossed to and fro. In measure. So it's going to come in measure in degrees. Judgments, measures. It says thou wilt debate with it. They're going to toss it. It says, and he stayeth his rough wind. He restrains his rough wind. His rough wind is when he's going to smote those that smote him. He stayeth the rough wind. Turn back to Revelation chapter 7. He stayeth the rough wind. We need to make sure we understand this.
1798.
We can make sure we understand this. Revelation chapter 7. He stayeth his rough wind. Revelation chapter 7, verse 1. And after those things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth. Holding the 4 winds of what?
The earth.
The earth. That the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. So these 4 winds are the 4 winds on the earth that God is restraining. Okay? He stayeth his rough wind in the day of the east wind. The day of the east wind, turn back to Isaiah 27. The day of the east wind is not the winds on the earth. The day of the east wind, you look at verse 1, it says, in that day, the Lord with his sword and great and strong sword will punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. Who is the dragon in the sea?
Catholic Church.
It's paganism, it's Satan, it's dragon. The dragon is symbolic of Rome, right?
Right.
It's also, the dragon is also symbolic of atheistic France, right?
Yes.
Right? The beast that ascends out the bottomless pit, is that the dragon?
Yes.
Is United States of America the dragon? Is United States of America the dragon?
The false prophet.
Revelation chapter, we ask these questions, Revelation chapter 13, because we need to understand this. God says he gonna slay the dragon. So it says this, Revelation chapter 13, verse 11 says, and I beheld another beast come up out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb. It was lamb-like, but it spake as a dragon. So God says when he come back, he going to destroy this power. Do we understand that? Is that clear? So we know in 1798, France received this deadly wound. Atheistic France, it was the beast that ascended out of the bottomless pit. And at the same time, the United States was rising into power. It was rising, back to Isaiah, it was rising in measure. First the blade, then the ear, then the ear. No, first the blade, then the first the blade, then the ear, then the fruit, the full blaze of the ear. Let me read that real quick, make sure I get that right. Okay? But it's 3 phases. 3 phases when it's going to rise. Okay? So, We'll go over that a little bit in a little bit. But it says, he stayeth in measure, that means degrees, when it shooteth forth, thou wilt debate with it. He stayeth his rough wind in the day of the east wind. The day of the east wind is when God pronounced judgment or sentence upon a group of people, which is Babylon. Okay? Babylon. Jeremiah chapter 4, when God pronounced sentence upon Babylon. Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 12. Even a full wind from those places shall come unto me, and now also I will give sentence against them. So a sentence is giving against them, and that's the day of the east wind. That when the angel that came from the east, ascended from the east, it gave a sentence, and it said, Babylon is fallen. Babylon is fallen. Because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Revelation 14. God gave a sentence on Babylon, and it was a full wind. It says, verse 13 says, behold, he shall come as the clouds, and his chariot shall be as a whirlwind. So this is how Jesus Christ has come back. We just read that, right? It says his horses are swifter than eagles. Whoa, is that a third woe? Unto us, for we are spoiled. That's the third woe. Okay? So this is God's coming. This is God's coming. So he's coming. We're going to see his coming. And God's going to give us an opportunity to break the covenant with this pale horse. You see that? Before he comes, he's going to give us a warning. Okay, a wind, the east wind, back to Isaiah chapter 27. We can find out what a wind is. We went over this last week, but we're going to go through it real quick. Real quick, a ruach. A ruach, it means by resemblance, is the word wind is found in 7307 in your Strong's Dictionary. It's called ruach. By resemblance of breath. Okay? By resemblance of breath. And we know when God sends the winds, they coming from the east. We read that in Exodus chapter 15. When the children of Israel was fleeing from Egypt, God caused the east wind to blow. Genesis chapter 41, 5, 23 and 27, east wind came and it blew upon 7 ears of corn, okay, and caused a famine. It also blew upon the cattle, the sheep. Exodus chapter 14, that's talking about the east wind, when God parted the sea. And this now says ruach, a sensible or even violent exaltation, figurative of life, anger, substantiability, by extent a region in the sky, the east. By resemblance, a spirit, the spirit, but only a rational being, including its expression. 1 Timothy 4:1-2 says, the Spirit speaketh expressly that in latter times many shall depart from faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrine of devils, and function are anger, blast, breath, cool, courage, of mind, times quarter, times side, spirit or spiritual tempest, a whirlwind or windy. Do you see that? Mm-hmm. So there you have a wind, the wind's coming from the earth, and you got the winds coming from heaven. It says God stayeth his rough wind in the day of the east wind. And we heard the angels are holding back the winds of the earth. Okay? Isaiah chapter 57:13. And also Isaiah 41:16, it says the winds are going to carry them away. Jeremiah 4, we just read that. That's a full wind. The full wind is dealing with chariots, whirlwinds, swift horses like eagles, and also a woe, a spoiling of Israel or God's people. Jeremiah 5:10, 12-13, a full end. It means a belied. It's people. God's going to repay those people who belied the Lord. Belied means they lied on the Lord. And it also says the prophet shall become wind. So the false prophet is also a wind that's going to carry God's people away. In Isaiah 32:13, it says, mentions a hiding place. God's going to have a hiding place from the wind. And we know that Jesus Christ, he says that he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty, the hiding place of shadow. Hosea 12:1 says that God's people, Ephraim and Judah, is going to feed on the wind, and they're going to follow after the east wind, which is Javan, which we found out earlier. You see that? Which is Greece. They're going to follow after east wind. Genesis 28. Let's look at Genesis chapter 28. Genesis 28:12. Let's look at that. Let's look at this one. This east wind. So they're going to follow after east wind, but let's look at this right here. Genesis chapter 28. It says this. Genesis 28. And this is where we're not supposed to be following after no east wind. Let me tell you that right now. It says this, unless you got to make sure which wind you're following after. Genesis chapter 28, verse 10. And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of that place and put them for his pillow, and lay down in that place to sleep. Now remember, he was running from his brother at this time period. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. It reached to the east. And behold, the angel of God ascending and descending on it. Do you see that? Angels of heaven ascending and descending on it. And Hebrews tell us that his angels are spirits. Spirits, east wind. Finish reading. It says, and behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord of Abraham, of God of Abraham, thy father, and the God of Isaac, and the land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. Jesus Christ says he's going to send his angels. He's going to give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all that ways. It also says he's going to send his angel with the sound of the trumpet. And he shall gather his elect from the four winds of the earth that God's holding in check. It says, and thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west and to the east. God's people going to spread. And to the north and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with thee. I will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, and I will bring thee again into this land. For I will not leave thee until thou hast done that which I have spoken to thee. God said, I'm not going to leave you till it's done. I'll never leave you nor forsake you. And Jacob awaked out of his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid and said, how dreadful is this place? This is none other but the house of God. And this is the gate of heaven, the east. And Jacob rose up early in the morning and took the stone that he had put for his pillow and set it up for a pillar, a memorial, and poured oil upon the top of it, anointed it, just like Jesus Christ anointed rock. And he called the name of that place Bethel, that means house of God. But the name of that city was called Luz at the first. Name change. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if God be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, I will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, clothing. It says, so that I come again to my father's house in peace. Then shall the Lord be my God. And this stone, which I have set up for a pillar, shall be God's house. And of all that thou shalt give me, surely I will give a tenth unto thee. Amen. So you see where the east wind is coming from? God stayeth his rough wind in the day of the east wind. If we still need another witness, let's turn to John chapter 1. New Testament, John chapter 1. Angels ascending and descending upon a ladder, and is going to the windows of heaven. God says He's going to open up the windows of heaven, and they coming from the east. In the day of the east wind, He stayeth His rough wind in the day of the east wind. The day of the east wind is the day of the Lord. John chapter 1. John chapter 1. After Jesus Christ was baptized, starting at verse 23, Simon Peter, he was following Jesus. Now this is what it says in verse 43. It says, the day following Jesus would go forth into Galilee. Remember what Galilee means? The flowing of the judgment. A body of water. And findeth Philip, and saith unto him, follow me. Now Philip was of Bethsaida. Beth SDA. House of SDA. House of Mercy. The city of Andrew and Peter. Philip findeth Nathanael, and saith unto him, we have found him, of whom Moses in the law and the prophets did write, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. And Nathanael said unto him, canst there any good thing come out of Nazareth? And Philip said unto him, come and see. And Jesus saw Nathanael coming to him, and said unto him, behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile, no deceit, just like the 144,000 characteristics. It says, Nathanael said unto him, whence knowest thou me? And Jesus answered and said unto him, before that Philip called thee. He says, I knew you before Philip called you. When thou wast under the fig tree, I saw thee. Remember the parable of the fig tree. When you see the leaves shooting forth, know that summer is nigh, even at the door. Jesus Christ was at the door, and Jesus Christ was at the door of the fig tree. Do you see that? And Nathanael, he was seeing the king of the east, was calling Philip. Do we see it? Let's turn to Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4. Let's do this quick Bible study. Ephesians chapter 4. 7. Ephesians 4, 7 to 12. We read this earlier today. Ephesians 4, 7 to 12. It says, ascending and descending. It says, but unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of Christ. It says, in measure, when it shooteth forth, thou wilt debate with it. He saith his rough wind in the day of the east wind. In measure. The gift of grace. Okay? Given grace according to the measure of the gift of Christ. Wherefore he saith, when he ascendeth up on high, just like angels were ascending and descending in Genesis, right? On a lamb, on Jesus Christ. It says, when he ascendeth up on high, he ladeth captivity captive and gave gifts unto men. Did I finish reading John? Did I finish reading John?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Ascending and descending. John chapter 1. Keep in mind, I want you to keep in mind ascending and descending. The ascending and descending on the east, okay? From the east. Okay? John chapter 1. It says, under the fig tree I saw thee. Verse 49, John 1:49 says, and I'm still in Ephesians, hold Ephesians. Nathanael answered and said unto him, Rabbi, thou art the Son of God. Thou art the Son of God. Thou art the King of Israel. So the King of Israel, he saw him on fig tree, right? It says, Jesus answered and said unto him, behold, because I said unto thee, I saw thee under the fig tree, believest thou? Thou shalt see greater things than these. And he said unto him, verily, verily, truly, truly, surely, surely, guarantee, warranty, I say unto you, amen, amen, I say unto you twice, double it, hereafter ye shall see heaven open from the east, and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. That's grace. Given in measure. Upon the Son of Man, that ladder. Jacob's ladder. Now back to Ephesians chapter 4. It says, in measure. It says, but unto every one of us, verse 7, is given grace according to the measure of the gift of Christ. Wherefore he saith, when he ascendeth up on high, he was an angel, he ascended up on high. He led captivity captive and gave gifts unto men. Now that he ascendeth, what is it but that he also descended first? So before he went to heaven, he came down here first, unto the lower parts of the earth. He that descendeth is the same also that ascendeth far above all heaven, that he might fill all things. And he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and teachers for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying, the building up, the education of the body of Christ, the church, till we all come into unity, accord, of the faith, and of the knowledge of the Son of God, unto a perfect man, unto the measure. In measure, when it shooteth forth, thou shalt debate with it. Unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ, until we come to the full likeness of Christ. That we henceforth be no more children tossed, debate, to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine, coming from the east to the west, on earth, four winds, by the sleight of men. It says, and the cunning craftiness, the arts, the craftiness, the works of men, whereby they lie in wait to deceive in secret chambers. Do we see that?
Mm-hmm.
Do we see that? Okay? And so, let's look at one more scripture. Revelation chapter 16. Jesus Christ is coming from the east. Revelation chapter 16, 12. Okay? This is something else that needs to be cleared up, because there's some false teachings being spread about this right here. Revelation 16. Okay? And I'm going to clear this up real quick. Okay? Let me see how far we got. It says Revelation 16, this is dealing with the 7 last plagues. Revelation 16, verse 12 says, the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the waters thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. The kings of the east is not Islam. Okay? The kings of the east are God's people. Okay? That's looking for and waiting for him to come from the east. These kings of the east are not Islam, and this is not talking about the Revelation chapter 9. Okay? And I'm going to make that plain real quick. Okay? I'm going to grab the book Great Controversy. I hope we have it. If you don't have this book, you need to get it and attain it quick. It says this right here. Let me find it. Okay? So the kings of the east. It says this. This is dealing with the sixth angel. This is dealing with the 6 plagues. So we know Islam, that happened in, it fell in 1840. It says this right here. At this point, another symbol is introduced, saying, the prophet, I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb. Revelation 13:11. This is Great Controversy, page 439 and 440. Both the appearance of this beast and the manner of its rise, when it shooteth forth, thou shalt debate with it, indicates that the nation which it represents is unlike those presented under the preceding symbols. They're unlike those other preceding symbols.
That's on the chart.
Okay, on your charts. They're unlike them 2 horses. Okay? The great kingdoms that have ruled the world were presented to the prophet Daniel as beasts of prey, rising when the 4 winds of heaven, that God is holding back, strove upon the great sea of Daniel 7:2. Is this plain? In Revelation 17, an angel explains that waters represents peoples and multitudes, nations, and tongues. Revelation 17:15. Winds are symbol of strife. The four winds of heaven striving upon the great sea represents the terrible scenes of conquest and revolution. We have Revolution War. The United States had a Revolution War, by which kingdoms have attained power. But the beast with the lamb's horn, and speaks as a dragon, who God's going to slay, Isaiah talks about. But the beast with the lamb-like horns was seen coming up out of the earth, rising up in measure. When it shooteth forth, you're going to debate with it. Instead of overthrowing other powers to establish itself, the nations thus represented must arise in the territory previously unoccupied and grow up gradually and peacefully. That's in measure. It could not then arise among the crowded and struggling nationalities of the old world. Was Islam in that? It says that turbulent sea of people, multitudes, nations, and tongues. It must have sought in the western continent. What nation of the New World was in 1798 rising into power, giving promise of strength and greatness and attracting the attention of the world? The application of the symbol admits no question. One nation, and only one, meets the specification of this prophecy. It points unmistakably to the United States of America. Again and again the thought, almost the exact words of the sacred writer have been unconsciously employed by orators and historians in describing the rise and growth of this nation. The beast was seen coming up out of the earth, and according to the translators, the word here rendered coming up literally signifies to grow or spring up as a plant. As a plant. First the blade, then the ear, then the full ear of the corn. It says measure. It says, and as we have seen, the nation must arise in a territory previously occupied. A prominent writer describes the rise of the United States, speaks of the mystery of her coming forth from vacancy, and says, like a silent seed, we grew into an empire. G.A. Townsend, The New World Compared with the Old, on page 462. A European journal in 1850 spoke of the United States as a wonderful empire, which was emerging, and amid the silence of the earth, daily adding to its power and pride. Dublin Nation, the Dublin Nation. It says, Edward Everett, in an oration on the Pilgrim Fathers of this nation, said, did they look for a retired spot, inoffensive for their obscurity and safe in its remoteness, where the little church of Leyden might enjoy the freedom of conscience like a lamb? Behold the mighty regions over which, in peaceful conquest, they had borne the banners of the cross. Speech delivered at Plymouth, Massachusetts, December 22nd, 1824, on page 11. So, back to you, Isaiah. So we know who this third woe was talking about. You see? So third woe, God holds back the east wind, holds back the rough wind in the day of the east wind. Now Revelation 18 is a continuation. It says all the sins of Babylon is going to be unmasked. Okay? And things that's done in secret, they want to hide this truth from you. Even your own church, even the ones that's supposed to be proclaiming this message, they want to hide this truth from you. And we should, and it says this, we read this earlier, unsanctified ministers are arraying themselves against God. And that's Protestant America. See, we need to stop listening to all these, I'm going to read it again, unsanctified ministers that think they know so much. And he said, they are praising Christ and God of this world, Satan in the same breath, While professing they receive Christ, they embrace Barabbas, and by their actions say, not this man but Barabbas. They're twisting and perverting prophecy. It says, many will stand in our pulpits with the torch of false prophecy in their hands. It says, kindled from the hellish torch of Satan. If doubts and unbelief are cherished, the faithful ministers will be removed from the people who think they know so much. If thou hast known, said Christ, even thou, at least this day, the things which belong to thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. You see that? Now we're supposed to know this stuff. You see this? We're supposed to know it. It says this. Daniel chapter 11:6. Daniel chapter 11:6. The king of the east is Jesus Christ, coming from the east. We're supposed to be hearing his voice. He says he's going to send forth his angels with the sound of his trumpet. He's coming from the east. It's going to shine all the way to the west. Okay? From heaven. And this trumpet is supposed to be gathering God's people. You have 3 angels, 3 trumpets. Okay? Daniel chapter 11. Let's look at this verse while we here. Daniel chapter 11, verse 44. Daniel 11, verse 44. Turn there, bro. Daniel 11, verse 44. Let's look at this real quick. Then we're going to keep going. Daniel 11, verse 44. We know otherwise says the last chapters, the last of Revelation, Daniel chapter 11 is about to be fulfilled. It says this in verse 44. It's talking about the king of the north. The king of the north we know is Rome, which is Japheth. And we know the king of the east is Javan, which is Greece. The one who's selling and buying slaves. And little girls and little boys for shoes and for wine. It says, but tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly make away many. So Rome is going to go forth and start just making havoc of God's people. Do we see that? It says, and he shall plant the tabernacle of his palace between the sea and the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. That's Japheth. Remember, Japheth means without limitation, or to the end or finishing. It says he's going to come to his end, and none shall help him. He's going to set up his tabernacle of his palace between the seas. The seas are multitudes, nations, kingdoms, and people. And the glorious and holy mountain. The glorious and holy mountain is coming from where? The east, right? Mm-hmm. The east, right? From heaven. Where Jesus Christ is coming. So he's going to set up his tabernacle in between that. And that's what Paul tells us. I want you to turn to 2 Thessalonians, Robert, chapter 3. Read that for me. So that's what Paul's saying right there. But this is what Zechariah says. Zechariah says this. Zechariah chapter 5. It says he's going to set up his tabernacle between the seas and the glorious in the holy mountain. Zechariah 3. I need you to read that first for me, Robert.
2 Thessalonians chapter 3 what?
2 Thessalonians 2, verse 3. Read that for me. He shall set up his tabernacle between the sea and the glorious and holy mountain. It's only one glorious and holy mountain. It's not United States of America. We just found that out.
It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition.
The son of perdition, the one that's going to have an end and a finishment, Japheth. Okay? The son of perdition. Finish reading. This is what he does.
Who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called
He
God,
exalts himself above all that is called God, the glorious in the Holy Land.
or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God.
So he's showing himself that he's God. He's lifting up himself before the glorious and the Holy Land, before the King of the East. Now, Zechariah chapter 5, we read about this last week. It says the curse is going to go, and it's going to go into all houses. Zechariah 5, verse 5 says, and the angel that talked with me went forth and said unto me, lift up now thine eyes and see what is this that goeth forth. We know it's the curse. And I said, what is it? And he said, this is the ephah. The ephah is the measure, the basket. The ephah is the measurement. When it shooteth forth, thou gonna debate with it. You see, in measure, when it shooteth forth, thou wilt debate with it. He says, this is the ephah. That's the grain, that's the measurement. The weight, the balance, that goeth forth. And he said, moreover, this is their resemblance through all the earth. And behold, there was lifted up a talent. They're going to lift up some weight. That's a weight, a sum, a false balance. Talent, lead, iron kingdom. And this is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah, the judgment, the weight, the measurement. The woman is a church. And he said, this is wickedness. And he cast it into the midst of the ephah, the balance, the weight, the judgment, the measurement. And he cast the weight of lead upon the mouth of it. It says, and then lifted I up mine eyes and looked, and behold, there came out two women, two churches. Babylon is fallen once, Babylon is fallen twice. Two churches, two women. And the wind, the ephah, the wind, the ruach, was in their wings. You see that? For they had wings like the wings of a stork. And they lifted up the ephah. What did you just read in Thessalonians? They lifted up the judgment, the measure. They lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heaven. You see that? Mm-hmm. So it's lifted up between the earth and the heaven. It says, and it says right there, verse 44, Daniel 11:44, it says, and the tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury and utterly make away many. Verse 45, it says, and he shall plant the tabernacle of his palace between the sea and the glorious holy mountain, earth and heaven. You see that? Ephah, between the earth and heaven. That's the only glorious and holy city. Jerusalem, heavenly Jerusalem. I'm back to verse 10 in Zechariah. It says, then said I, lo, the angel that talked with me, and whither do these bear the ephah? They hold to judgment. And he said unto me, to build it an house in the land of Shinar, Shinar's Babylon, and it shall be established and set upon her own foundation. Her own foundation is spiritualism, secret societies, witchcraft. Back to Daniel chapter 11, verse 44. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and to utterly make away many. That word make away, it means to make a covenant with many. Look at your screen. Look at the screen. Make away, it means to take away. The word is asa. It means to do or make, accomplish, advance, appoint, to bring forth, to bruise, to charge or commit, to deal with slaves and souls of men, to execute or execution of people who goes against it, to exercise, to fashion, they control the fashion, and also feast, fighting men, men of war, to finish, to fulfill, to furnish, to gather, to govern, that means to control, to grant, to great hinder, or to hold a feast. Indeed, times indeed, a feast, indeed, that means actions. It says be industrious, that's rich, journey, running to and fro, keep, labor, maintain, to make, to be, meet, perform, to practice, to perform, to sacrifice, times serve, to set or to show, times sin. They're going to show you how to sin and sacrifice God's people. To spend, to surely take or thoroughly trim, times vary, to vex, to be a war or warrior, to a workman or to yield. So he's going to make away many. Do we see that? If you don't make a covenant with you, he's going to destroy you. If you're not under the shadow of the Most High. If you're not hiding in the secret place of the Most High. It says this. But tidings out of the east and out of the west shall trouble. Let's see where these tidings of the east and west is coming from. Turn to Isaiah chapter 41. Isaiah chapter 41. Tidings out of the east and out of the west shall trouble him. Isaiah chapter 41. Isaiah chapter 41 says this. Right here. Isaiah 41 says, keep silent before me, O islands, and let the people renew their strength. Let them come near, then let them speak. Let us come near together to judgment. Measure. Who raised up the righteous man from the east? You see that? Who raised up the righteous man from the east? Is Jesus Christ in the grave? Is he on that cross? No, he's not on that grave. And he's not on the cross. He's in the most holy place. He's the one who raised up. And his spirit raised him up. Who is the one who raised up the righteous man from the east and called him to his foot and gave nations before him and made him rule over kings, the kings of the east? He gave them the dust to his sword, and as a driven stubble to his bow. He pursued them and passed safely even by the way that he had not gone with his feet. Who hath wrought and done it, calling the generation from the beginning? I, the Lord, first, and I, and with the last, am he. This is a testimony of Jesus Christ. You see this?
That's powerful, I do.
You see this? Now that's the trouble. Tidings out of the east is going to trouble him. And these tidings is coming from heaven. They're coming from your pulpits, from these unsanctified ministers. From the east, tidings from the east, and tidings from the west is going to trouble, and from the north is going to trouble him. Turn your Bibles now to verse 25. We're going to start at verse 21. Produce your cause, saith the Lord. God says, bring forth all your arguments, saith the Lord. Bring forth your strong reasons, saith the King of Jacob, Jesus Christ himself. He says, I am he. Let them bring them forth and show us what shall happen. Show us prophecy. Let them show the former things, what they be, that we may consider them and know the latter end of them, or declare us things to come. Prophesy some truth, things that's going to come in the future. Show the things that are to come hereafter, that we may know that that ye are gods, little g's. Yea, do good or do evil. Make the plan evil, make it good. That we may be dismayed, amaze us, and behold it together. Behold, ye are of nothing, and your work of naught. An abomination is he that chooseth you. I have raised up one from the north, and he shall come from the rising of the sun from the east. Shall he call upon my name, and he shall come upon princes, kings of the east, and upon mortar, and as a potter that treadeth the clay. He's coming to tread the clay. Who hath declared from the beginning, that I may know, and before time that we may say, he is righteous. He comes from the east and from the north. Yea, there is none that showeth. Yea, there is none that declare. Yea, there is none that heareth your words. The first shall say to Zion, thou art my people. Behold, behold them. I will give to Jerusalem one that bringeth good tidings. Good tidings. One, he's coming from the east, he's coming from the north. Turn back to Daniel chapter 11, verse 44. But tidings out of the east, the good news out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him Therefore he shall go forth with great fury and destroy utterly and make a way. He's going to make it abominable. This is the abomination of desolation, the second desolation. See that? That's why we don't understand the word of God, because somebody has been working secretly to destroy the righteous. East wind. So now I hope that's clear who the east wind is, right? Is that clear? Mm-hmm. Can it get any clearer? It's Jesus Christ. An angry horse. An angry horse, not a wild ass. Revelation 6:8. We see this angry horse? No, that's that pale horse. And death and destruction follows him. Japheth is on him, the king of the north, Japheth. And the east, Javan, Greece. And I looked, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat upon him was Death and Hell. Revelation 6:8. The son of perdition. Hell followed him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, the four winds. See that? Power was given over them over the fourth part of the earth. You got north, east, south, and west. A global organization to kill with the sword and with hunger. No buy, no sell. And with death and with beasts of the earth. Revelation 13:15. Can you read that for me, Robert? Power was given unto them to kill. Revelations 13:15. Power was given unto them to kill. Okay? In this power, Robert finna read about the United States of America and Rome. There's one world union. There's one world confederation. Read that, Robert.
And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
So the United States is going to give power. They're going to lift up. Those are the two women that's going to lift up the ephah. Okay? The false balance, the false weight, the false judgment in measure. That people going to debate with it. When this east wind is being stayed. When the rough wind is being stayed in the day of the east wind. You see that? Revelation chapter 17. Verse 7 tells us this. I'm going to read verse 5 first. And upon her forehead, talking about this false balance, this false abomination of desolation. And upon her forehead was the name written, Mysteries, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. The two women. The abominations of the earth. That's heathen, that's spiritualism. And I saw a woman drunken with the blood of the saints, going forth and destroying with fury. Daniel chapter 11. It says, drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admonition. Verse 7 says, and the angel said unto me, where didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carried her, with which hath the 7 heads and the 10 horns. I'm going to tell you about that beast. It says, verse 8 says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. That's Japheth. Gonna have an end. That's wrong. And they that dwell upon the earth shall wonder, deceives, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was. And that is not. And yet is. It's still working. You don't even know it's working. You see that? Here is the mind that hath wisdom. The 7 heads are the 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And the 7 kings are the 7 kings. There are 7 kings. 5 are fallen. 1 is. And the other is not yet come. And when he is come, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th. And is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. The son of perdition. You see that? Verse 12 says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are the 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, But they receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast, hour of judgment. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. One spirit, one mind. I'm gonna read on the scripture right here. I'm gonna read it. This is taken out of, this is dealing with Revelation chapter 17. Okay, dealing with the one who deceives all nations and what's going to be deceiving all nations. Okay, this is letter 3. This is letter 232, written in 1899. Written in 1899. It says, "Deceiver, the deceiver of all nations." It says in the 17th chapter of Revelation is foretold the destruction of all the churches who corrupt themselves by idolatrous devotion to the service of the papacy. All, even your Adventist churches. Those who have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, Revelation 17, 1 through 4. Thus is represented the papal power, which with all deceivableness of unrighteousness, by outside attraction and gorgeous display, deceives all nations, promising them, as did Satan our first parents, all good to those who receive its mark, and all harm to those who oppose it. Fallacies. The power which has the deepest inward corruption will make the greatest display, and will clothe itself with the most elaborate signs of power. It says that beast that was, that is, and is to come is wrong. Did we just read that? Is that the spirit of prophecy? You can fight against it if you want to. The Bible plainly declares that this covers a corrupt and deceiving wickedness. Ain't that what Zechariah said? This is wickedness. It says, upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. What is it that gives its kingdom to this power? Protestantism.
The churches.
Protestantism. Revelation 11, this is not Revelation 11, Revelation 13:11. A lamb-like beast that speaks as a
Dragon.
What is it that gives its kingdom to this power? Protestantism. A power which, while professing to have the temper and the spirit of the Lamb, and to be allied to heaven, speaks with the voice of a dragon. It is moved by power from beneath. Letter 232, written in 1899. Now, I read this last week, but I'm going to read it again. In evangelism, a power that works from beneath. Protestant America. Some people ain't going to preach this message because they got an iron gag on their mouth. You need to find out what I'm talking about, an iron gag. It was something used to torture people. Okay? It was used as it was an instrument of torture, an iron gag. You can also call it a gag. There was a gag laws in the 1600s when they talked about slavery. What you do, you couldn't speak about slavery. It was always tabled, so they can keep on promoting slavery. And so that's what that beast from that Protestant churches was doing, working secretly to destroy the poor. It says a power from beneath is working. Deception through secret society. It says the world is a theater. The actors, its inhabitants, are preparing to act their part in the last great drama. With the great masses of mankind, there is no unity except as men confederate to accomplish their selfish purposes. God is looking on. His purpose in regard to his rebellious subjects will be fulfilled. The world has not been given into the hands of men, though God is permitting the elements of confusion and disorder to bear sway for a season in the day of the east wind. A power from beneath is working to bring about the last great scenes in the drama, Satan coming as Christ, and working with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in those who are binding themselves together in secret societies. That's who wrote your Constitution. Those who are yielding to the passions for confederation. And what is it called? A Confederate Army?
Okay.
King of the South? Running to and fro to the north? It says, confederation are working out the plans of the enemy. The cause will be followed by the effect. Transgression has almost reached its limits. Confusion. Transgression has almost reached its limits. Robert, can you turn to Daniel for me real quick? Daniel chapter 8. Transgression has almost reached its limits. Confusion filled the world and great terror is soon to come upon human beings. The end is very near. And we who know the truth should be preparing for what is soon to break upon the world as an overwhelming surprise, finna break loose as an angry horse. We need to be preparing people for that. Daniel chapter 8, verse. Daniel chapter 8, verse. When transgression has almost reached its limits. Okay, read, start from verse 19.
Okay.
This God gonna tell us about the last scenes, the last portion. Go ahead, the indignation.
And he said, Behold, I will make thee to know what shall be in the last
End,
of the indignation.
the last end. God's gonna let us know what's gonna be in the last end. He says that it said. So this one says, a power from beneath is working to bring about the last scenes in the great drama, Satan coming as Christ, and working with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in those who are binding themselves together in secret societies, and those who are yielding to the passions for confederation are working out the plans of the enemy, that the cause will be followed by the effect. Finish reading. The last end of the indignation. Finish reading.
For at that time appointed the end shall be.
At the time of the east wind, the end shall be. Keep going.
The ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between the eyes of the first is between his eyes is the first king.
So we got the first king. Okay, you got two horns. It's got Greece mentioned again. The last part of indignation, Greece. Javan. The time of the Gentiles being fulfilled. Finish reading. We know it's talking about Alexander the Great, but it has a second fulfillment in 1844. The time of the Gentiles. East wind. Keep going.
Now that being broken, whereas four stood up, for it 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power.
Okay. Keep going.
And in the latter times of their kingdom,
What time?
the latter time,
The latter time. Now I'm going to read this one more time. Transgression has almost reached its limit. She wrote this in 1904. Transgressions have almost reached its limit. Confusion fills the world, and great terror is soon to come upon human beings. The end is very near, when we who know the truth should be preparing for what is soon breaking upon the world as an overwhelming surprise. Testimonies, Volume 8, page 27 and 28, written in 1904. Finish reading the last end of transgression.
and in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up.
So now it's another king finna rise. Who's gonna give the power into him? United States of America. Secret societies. Keep going.
And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and he shall destroy the mighty and the holy people.
Now, and ain't that what Daniel just said? What did Daniel 11 say? I'm gonna read it. Daniel 11 says that tidings out of the what? East and out of the north shall trouble him, and he shall go forth with fury to make away many. Did I read it right? Did I quote it right? Let me see. But tidings out of the east, good news out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly make away many. Finish reading.
And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper.
He gonna cause
in his
craft to
hand.
prosper in his hand. That's witchcraft.
And he shall
That's
magnify
masonry.
and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many.
By peace he shall destroy many. Keep
He
going.
shall also stand up against the prince of princes,
So he gonna stand up against the prince of princes, and that's what's gonna trouble him. The tidings from the east and the north.
but he shall be broken without hand.
Broken without hand. That means God is gonna destroy him. Son of perdition. Keep going.
And the vision of the evening and the morning, which was told, is true.
So the vision of the evening and the morning, which was told you, is true. Can you go up and read Daniel 13 and 14? This vision is true. This is truth. This is not no fallacy, not no fairy tale. Read.
Then I heard one saint speaking to another saint, said unto certain saint, which spake, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and transgression of desolation? Give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot. And he said unto me, unto 2,300 days, then the sanctuary shall be cleansed.
It's dealing with the cleansing of the sanctuary. You see that? That's what's troubling him. This message is going to trouble him. We need to get this message. We need to share this message. Back to the screen. The angry horse is not a wild ass. It's two powers working. We got the United States and we got the papacy. United States is going to lift up the Protestant churches of America, who are controlled by secret societies, Masonic societies, or secret councils, are going to lift up and give this power back unto the papacy. This is the 3 ancient messages. The Bible says this, this is what Spirit of Prophecy says. Spirit of Prophecy says, dealing with these angry horses. It says, our short-sightedness vision beholds the shadow, but cannot see the glory beyond. Angels are holding the four winds, which are represented as an angry horse seeking to break loose and rush over the face of the whole earth, bearing death in its path. Letters 138, written in 1897, paragraph 23. Isaiah 27:8 says, in measure when it shooteth forth, thou wilt debate with it. You're going to toss it to and fro. With it, he staff or he restrains the rough wind in the day of the east wind. The tidings out of the east and north. God's holding it back. It says, John 3:19 says, this is the condemnation that light is come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light. Great Controversy says the nation, Great Controversy 263 says the nation, dealing with Revelation 11:7-8, atheistic France, was left to reap the results of the course which she has chosen. The restraints of God's Spirit. Do we hear that? Mm-hmm. The restraints of God's Spirit was removed from a people that had despised the gift of His grace. Evil was permitted to come to maturity, and all the world saw the fruit of willful rejection of light. The whole heavenly universe. Back to the letter. The whole heavenly universe is interested. It's back to the letter. The whole heavenly universe is interested, and the law of God is exercised in behalf of His faithful, commandment-keeping people. It is God in whom we must trust. It is only a narrow-minded government that legislates, uses this system, the suppression of God's law. Did you see that? United States is doing the same thing. A narrow-minded government is that angry horse seeking to break loose. Suppresses God's law. God has the world in His hand, and we have God on our side. All heaven is waiting and longing for our cooperation. That's what God's holding back, for us to cooperate with Him. The Lord is supreme. Why should we fear? The Lord is almighty. Why should we tremble? In the past, God has delivered His people, and He will be our helper if we will arise in His strength and go forward.
See that?
If we will arise and go forward. So God is the one that's going to deliver us, just like he told Moses and told the people, you command them to go forward. Stop being scared of these laws that legislate trying to shut you up, these gag laws, these gag orders. You got an iron gag on around your mouth. You can't say nothing. You can't mention nothing about these methods. You can't mention nothing about slavery. Some things you can't say. And you, by not saying it, by withholding it, you are being guilty of the same sin.
Like it ain't there. Everybody's
Satan,
world, see?
when Satan, that's a dragon, wrought through the Roman church to lead away from obedience, his agencies was concealed. So it says, Satan, he's not going to let you know all this stuff. It's going to be a hush law. It says his agencies were concealed. Now it says this. And his work was so disguised that the degradation and misery which resulted were not seen to be the fruits of transgression. Now I'm going to read something to you, some concealment. Okay? The founders of the founders of the Constitution, they were Masons. We know that, right? The majority of them were Masons, high Masons. And the Constitution, it was not based upon the Bible principles, because if it was impossible for them to be practicing slavery if it was.
That's right.
And so it's a constitution, it's another constitution. It's called the Freemason Constitution. So our Constitution was based off the Freemasons Constitution. And this is what the Freemasons Constitution says. A constitution and bylaws of the Masonic Society. A bylaw is a law that overrides another law. If you go contrary to the system, then it's laws that you will be penalized for, a bylaw. So this law overrides the Constitution. That's why most people don't have their constitutional rights, and they don't know it. And blacks at this time period had no rights. Article 1, name and purpose. The name and the purpose. Purpose, section 2. It says the Masonic Society is organized as a center of union. Is that Confederacy? A center of union for Freemasons who desire to study, promote the mystic arts. Daniel chapter 11 says what? By her policy, right? Daniel 11, I want to read that. You see this? I want to read it. Daniel chapter 8. I'm going to read this. It says, it's a society and it's a Freemasons who desire to study and promote the mystic arts. Robert, can you go back and read Revelation chapter 17:7 while I read Daniel chapter 8? I hope we follow along. It says this. Okay, this is a Masonic Society. It's organized as a center of union or confederacy for Freemasons who desire to study and promote the mystic arts. Okay, the mystic arts is Revelation chapter 17. What's this verse 7 says, Robert?
It says, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel?
No, verse 6.
It says, and I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints.
Verse before it. Verse before it.
And upon her head, and upon her forehead was name written, Mystery Babylon, the great, the mother of harlots and abomination of the earth.
Okay, stop right there. You hear that? The Mystery Babylon. It says, the Masonic Society is organized as a center of union for Freemasons who desire to study and promote the mystic arts, the arts of Mystery Babylon. This is what it says right here. In Daniel chapter 8, we read this a few minutes ago, verse 19 says, and he said, behold, I will make thee to know what shall be the last end of the indignation. For at the time appointed, the end shall be. And then I'm going to jump down to verse 23. It says, and in the latter times of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sense shall stand up, And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper in practice, and shall destroy the mighty in the holy people, mystic arts. And through his policy, constitution, Messianic constitution, or Jesuit oath, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. Let's look at some of these crafts in the Masonic Constitution. The Masonic Society is organized as a center of union for Freemasons who desire to study, promote the mystic arts. Its history, its philosophy, which spoils us, rites, customs, and practices, crafts, shall destroy many, while promoting the common good. What's the common good?
Sunday law.
Sunday law. The common good is the Sunday law. While promoting the common good and general welfare of his community by espousing, that means marrying, and promulgating, that means spreading, preaching, and making laws, make public, spread, broadcast, circulate, promote, enforce, or pass laws for the common good. Those tenets of Freemasonry that bring about the civil betterment, one word order, and social improvement for the greater community at large, homosexuals, to support and conduct research, education, and informational activity to increase awareness of the need of brotherly love. All we got to do is love, right? So the Beatles gospel. Truth, relief, and charity towards all mankind, except for blacks. Okay? It says, and through his policy, Daniel chapter 8:25, through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many, and he shall also stand up against the prince of princes, mystic arts. It says, and promote them and spread them, but he shall be broken without hand. And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true, wherefore shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days. The day of the east wind. Back to the screen. It says, his work is so disguised that the degradation and misery with which were not seen to be the fruit of transgression. And his power was so far counteracted by the working of the Spirit of God that his purposes were prevented from reaching their full fruition. God had to hold the wind back. The people did not trace the effect to its cause to effect, and discover the source of their misery. Now, we got to stop blaming everything on God. You know, we as black people, we want to blame everything on God. It says we need to go back and trace the cause to the effect. And then that's what we got to do. It says the people did not trace the effects to the cause and discover the source of their misery. But in revolution, the law of God was openly set aside by the national councils, and in the reign of terror which followed, the working cause and the effect could be seen by all. That's the beast that sent out the bottomless pit. When France publicly prohibited the Bible, wicked men and the spirit of darkness exulted in their attainments of the object so long desired, a kingdom free from the restraints of the law of God. Because the sentence against the evil work is not speedily executed, therefore the hearts of the Son of Man was fully set in them to do evil. The common good, the origins of the common good. Let me read this to you. This is taken out of the book called The Common Good by Robert R. Wright. It is important not to romanticize the past. As I've noted, at America's founding, the common good did not include African Americans or Native Americans. Women and the non-property poor could not vote. The founding fathers nonetheless embraced a set of principles that would eventually lead to a far more inclusive society. They understood that the best way to preserve freedom was through the people fiercely committed to it. When they spoke of virtue, it was not as we understand the term involving personal kindness and generosity. For them, virtue meant a concern for the common good. Sun worship. Without a virtuous citizenry, you're not all keeping Sunday law. They feared the young republic would succumb to the authoritarian rule. You hear that? Did you hear that? Huh?
That's crazy, yeah.
Who's in charge of the Freemasons? The Pope. See, that's why you see that cross on the shoulder.
Blacks wasn't included in that.
Blacks are not included, and Indians were not included either. And women, and they were not included in the common good. Do we understand that? So if you want to study and promote the mystic arts of Babylon, Mystery Babylon, you got to promote the Sunday law, National Sunday Law. Revelation 14:6-13. I saw another angel flying from the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel, to preach unto them that dwell upon the earth, to every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. Those who are not included in the common law. The common good. That's why they had a fugitive slave law, angry horse seeking to break loose. Saying with a loud voice, fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come. Worship him that made the heaven, the earth, the sea, and the fountains of waters. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, making racial covenants. Great controversy. 2:79 tells us Jesuits alone flourished in the decaying nation and ruled with dreadful tyranny over the churches and the schools, the prisons and the galleys. Did we hear that? It's your Great Controversy, page 279. Jesuits, Freemasons, all these secret societies is working to promote the common good. And the third angel followed them, saying, verse 9 of Revelation 14, the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image. Remember the images, Protestant Americas, working secret societies, working through the Protestant churches. And receive his mark in his forehead. His mark is Sunday worship, the common good. In his forehead, that means his conscience. Or in his hand, that means his actions, his practices, his works. You see that? See where that seventh angel, see the rope going back up to Javon's neck? The goat people? Ezel, satanic people. Ezel, another name for Satan. In the time of the seventh angel, when he starts to sound, 1844. Isaiah, great controversy. Isaiah's name means Jehovah is salvation, or the help of Jah, or Jehovah succors. Jehovah will when you walking and you falling back, you know, a baby, a succor. When you learn to walk, you know how you put your hand on the baby, Jehovah will help you. The welfare of Jehovah, not the welfare of the common good or the welfare of society at large that from Freemasonry is promoting. The prosperity of Jehovah, that's what Isaiah means, the prosperity of Jehovah, not the prosperity which the man of sin is going to cause to prosper in his hand. Isaiah is the prosperity of Jehovah. Isaiah 27:8 says, in measure when it shooteth forth, thou wilt debate with it. It says, he stayeth the rough wind in the day of the east wind. It says you will debate, you will toss, you will pervert, you will grapple, you will rest. That's what 2 Peter 3:15 says. You will rest. And let's look at 2 Peter 3 says, you'll rest this. 2 Peter chapter 3. It says this, when it shooteth forth, you will debate with it. 2 Peter chapter 3 says, Verse 15 says, and account that the long suffering of our Lord is salvation, even as our beloved brother Paul, also according to the wisdom given unto him, hath written unto you, as also in all his letters, epistles, speaking in them of things in which are some things hard to be understood, which they that are unlearned and unstable will wrest, they will pervert, they will toss, they will debate, as do also the other scriptures unto their own destruction. Ye therefore, beloved, seeing ye know these things before, beware lest also you, being led away with the error of the wicked, fall from your own steadfastness, but grow in grace, in measure, and in the knowledge of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. To him be the glory, both now and forever. Amen. We'll stop here. May God add a blessing to the reading and the hearing and the studying of his word. Amen.